This science fiction story begins by depicting a future where everything has become quite advanced. Humans are now using robotic-like reps for their work, which are created by a huge organization named Tyrone. With the help of these rep robots, people handle all their small and big tasks. Although these reps do not have any emotions, their usage increased so much over time that their quantity also grew significantly. Now, these robot reps were being used in very strange ways. Humans treated them like servants, and as a result, a group of reps rebelled against humanity and started killing many government officials. To capture these dangerous reps, the government formed a secret team called the Blade Runners. This team consisted of officers who had the authority to track down and eliminate these out-of-control reps, as they posed a significant threat to humanity. Now we see a police officer named Holden in Los Angeles who is testing a rep from the Tyrone Corporation. Holden asks the rep several questions because he needs to confirm that these robots won't turn against humans in the future. However, the rep seems very disturbed by Holden's questions and ends up killing him with a gun placed on the desk. This means that the rep was also supporting the rebellion against humanity. We are then shown a scene of future Earth, where everything has become advanced, and even cars are flying in the air. In a market, a man named Richard is shown sitting and enjoying some food. Suddenly, two officers approach him and inform him that they need to take him with them. Although Richard initially refuses to go with them, he agrees when the officers mention that he has been called by Brian. Richard then goes with the officers to the police station, where he sits in front of Brian. Brian tells Richard that there are very dangerous reps roaming the city, which could be extremely harmful to the public. Therefore, Brian wants Richard to find and eliminate all these reps in the city. However, Richard responds that he has left such work behind and now wants to live a normal life. If you need to get rid of these reps, you should call your best officer, Holden. Brian, looking sad, informs Richard that Holden died last night and was not killed by a dangerous rep. Hearing this, Richard is convinced to go after the reps to kill them because Holden was his best friend. Brian then shows Richard all the footage of how Holden was deliberately killed. He explains that when these reps went out of control, the government decided to send all these reps to space, specifically to the moon. But within a few days, 6 of these reps managed to escape and return to Earth. One of these reps was responsible for Holden's death. Research revealed that these reps are searching for their creator, the Tyrone organization, and are interrogating everyone there. However, the security guards of the Tyrone company managed to capture and detain 2 of the reps, but 4 reps escaped and managed to flee. Among these 4 reps was a robot named Leo, who was guiding the other robots. Now, Richard had to capture all these reps. Otherwise, they would form their own gang and start attacking humans. Richard first arrives at the Tyrone organization, where the reps were trying to break in to find their creator. When Richard reached the office of the organization's head, there was a lady present named Raya. Raya appeared to be completely human, but she was also a rep. Richard, being a Blade Runner, had clear instructions to shoot any rep he found on site. However, he needed to confirm whether Raya was indeed a rep. Soon after, the owner of the Tyrone company, Tyrone, arrived. Tyrone asked Richard what he needed, and Richard simply replied that he wanted to investigate Raya because he suspected she might be a rep, and if she was, he would kill her. Tyrone gave Richard permission to conduct his testing without hesitation. Richard then had Raya sit in front of him and checked her retina. Richard asks Raya a series of mind-boggling questions, but Raya answers all of Richard's questions calmly and correctly. After the test, Richard concludes that Raya is indeed a rep, but he still can't prove it. Normally, even if a typical rep is asked 10 questions, it eventually reveals the truth. However, despite asking Raya 100 difficult questions, she reacts with no sign of distress and answers correctly. After Raya leaves, Tyrone informs Richard that Raya is not an ordinary rep, but a new generation rep with fake human memories included. This means that Raya herself doesn't know she is a rep, making these reps nearly perfect replicas of humans. Meanwhile, Brian and Richard have arrived at the hideout of the rep leader, Leo. Although no reps are present there, they find some photos when they check the drawers. These photos appear to show places where Leo and his team plan to attack. Richard asks Brian to increase security measures. On the other side, Leo and his companion Roy, who are reps, have arrived at a scientist's place. The reps have learned that their lifespan is only 4 years, after which they will deteriorate and end. Now, with emotions and feelings in their bodies, they threaten the scientist to make them immortal or risk his own life. But the scientist said that he was only an ice specialist for the reps and didn't know anything else. However, Leo and Roy managed to get the contact information of a person who might be able to extend their lifespan even further. Now we see Richard relaxing at home when suddenly he finds none other than Raya in front of him. Raya asks Richard what happened with Tyrone after she left. Although Richard doesn't reveal anything, Raya expresses her pain, saying that sometimes she feels the memories in her mind don't belong to her. She still has childhood photos that prove she existed in reality during her childhood. After thinking deeply, Richard finally tells Raya the truth. He explains that the memories she has are not her own, but someone else's that were implanted in her mind. In a way, her memories belong to someone else. Raya realizes that Tyrone had been playing games with her from the beginning. She was merely a testing subject for Tyrone. Richard, meanwhile, continues to examine the photos recovered from Leo's place and finds an address for a club. Shortly after, Richard goes to the club to do a little dancing. Suddenly, Richard notices a lady wearing a strange costume with a snake hanging around her neck. After spending some time with her, when they are close, Richard asks her some questions. The lady becomes frustrated and starts attacking Richard, eventually fleeing the scene. Richard, armed with a gun, pursues her relentlessly as he suspects she might be one of the rep group members. Despite her attempts to evade him, Richard manages to shoot her in the hand, severely injuring her. Shortly after, Officer Brian arrives with his entire team. Brian praises Richard for capturing a rep, noting that only 4 reps are left to be caught. However, Richard believes only 3 reps remain. Brian has included Raya in the list, who is a rep, but Richard does not like the idea of killing Raya, as she is not like the other reps. When Leo finds out that Richard has killed one of his group's reps, he directly confronts Richard and starts attacking him. Leo, being a robotic rep, has significantly more power than Richard. Leo severely beats Richard, leaving him almost dead. However, Raya comes from behind and shoots Leo to save Richard, killing Leo on the spot. Meanwhile, Roy, a member of the rep group, arrives at Tyrone's place and demands the formula that would make their lives unlimited, meaning they want to become immortal. However, Tyrone does not respond to this demand and instead blackmails Roy. Enraged by this, Roy blinds Tyrone as he wishes to kill his creator. Richard soon learns about Tyrone's death and goes to investigate the matter further. When Richard arrives at the location, Trish, a robotic rep from Leo's team, attacks him. Richard tries to fight her using his gun, but Trish is so agile and swift that she doesn't give Richard a chance to attack back and continues to inflict damage on him. However, Richard is not easily defeated either. Richard creates some distance between himself and Trish, pulls out his gun, and fires multiple shots into her abdomen. After receiving so many bullets, Trish dies on the spot. Shortly afterward, Roy arrives, being the only survivor of his group. Upon seeing Trish's dead body, Roy becomes extremely angry as he was in love with her. He is now convinced that they cannot become immortal. Roy directly attacks Richard, but Richard continues to shoot at him from a distance. Roy hides behind a wall to evade the bullets and seizes the opportunity to grab Richard's hand, cutting off 2 of his fingers one by one, since Richard had killed his 2 companions. A fierce battle ensues between them. Despite Richard's efforts to kill Roy, the latter, being a robotic rep, inflicts much greater damage on him. They eventually end up on the edge of a building, with heavy rain pouring down. Richard accidentally finds himself hanging, about to fall. For Roy, this is relatively easy. He is able to jump from one building to another. Roy tells Richard that he will learn what death feels like. However, just as Richard is about to fall, Roy grabs him and pulls him back up. Roy explains that while he may not be immortal, he has learned everything about humans in such a short time. Roy calmly tells Richard that the memories inside him. Roy explained that he wanted to live like a real human, but since Roy's 4-year lifespan was ending, he would soon die. At that moment, Roy's systems shut down and he dies on the spot. Richard realizes that these reptoid beings aren't inherently bad. They could be allies if not used as mere slaves by humans. Richard quickly returns home, only to find that Raya is still there. Having developed feelings for Raya, Richard tells her that they should leave because the Blade Runners have discovered her presence and might kill her. As Richard is about to leave with Raya, he finds a unicorn toy placed in front of his house, left there by someone. This toy reminds him of the visions he had experienced, and he suddenly realizes the truth. The memories inside him are not his either. In a way, Richard is also not a human but a reptoid. And so, our adventurous story ends here.